You know what else happened this weekend?
You beat Florida for the third year in a row. 49-42. Double-digit dog, and it didn't matter. Missing everybody. Which, this is kind of a funny place to start, Jake, is that a lot of people are wondering, oh, man, what was up with the defense? Like, we couldn't stop anybody. You're down like 6 starters. Like, of course your defense didn't look great. You're missing half of it. Yeah. You should just be happy for the defense you had. I mean, they made the plays, right? Whether it was the picks to set up the touchdowns, the pick to end the game with Damone Clark, the fact that the defense kind of kept you in early on. Because this is where I would start. If we start to talk about the game itself, Jake, is that this start, if you go and rewatch it, and I don't know how many people have forgotten this because how it ended, it felt horrible at the beginning. Anthony Bradford goes down play 1. Kind of throw your hands up. You're like, oh, of course, right?
Right.
Nothing comes from the first drive. Friggin' punt gets blocked. Now, granted, the defense did come up with a nice stop here. Mason Smith on the sack. That was great. But the offense comes back. What do? They go 3 and out. Then what does Florida do? They get the ball. They drive right down. They score a touchdown. They make it look easy, right? And at this point, I remember typing out like, Dan Mullen is about to feast on Durante Jones. And I thought that would be the case. And granted, while maybe ended up being a little bit in the second half, it did not play out like how I thought it would.
You had it typed out, but you didn't send it?
Well, I had it not as a tweet, kind of in my notes. And then I ended up thinking that it actually wasn't that true. But so to have that beginning where you do nothing on offense, looks like one of your guys get hurt, pump blocked, defense comes up to stop, another 3 and out, then they go down and score. It felt like, all right, whatever. This is going to play out exactly how we thought it would. Florida's the much better team, and that's where this team showed elite mental toughness. And it was mental toughness that carried throughout the day. So they overcame the horrible beginning, the penalties that took away some huge offensive plays in the second quarter when you were looking to land haymakers, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half, which could have been a potential backbreaker, the continuous scoring of touchdowns in the second half. LSU, every time they were hit, they kept hitting back. And at a time when your mentality and your team makeup should have been brittle and should have been easy to break, that resilience, I think, is something to be celebrated.
All right, now, with this comment, just know that I'm not comparing these two, but this was the first time in a while, offensively for LSU, it felt like you can score, that's fine, because we started with one more score than you did, and you're not going to be able to catch up.
Yeah.
Like, it really had that feel to it. And we've seen some games in 2019 where the other team would have some success against your defense, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because we got the lead, and we're going to score now every single time we have the ball. Like, even like the Ole Miss game, you end up winning by 3 touchdowns. Like, and John Rice Plumlee's running up and down the field, and it was alarming, but it's like, we're going to score every time we get it as well. Same thing against Alabama that year. Like, every time we get it, we're going to score. Yep. Like, they can't do anything to stop us. And let me tell you, there is not a better feeling in the game of football than when you know you're running it, they know you're running it, hell, the entire stadium knows you're running it, and they can't do a damn thing about it. There's not a better feeling. You were in 4-minute offense basically the entire game, and they couldn't stop it. I mean, there was a point in the fourth quarter, Max hadn't thrown a pass, and it didn't matter.
It was so that one. It was literally 15 plays in a row. The 4th and 1 touchdown, which was chef's kiss play design with the fake play action boot into the little awkward. It looked awkward because it's complicated footwork, right? He has to fake it, act like he's going to boot it, then flip back around and throw to Dre Jenkins leading out the backside. That was the first pass of the fourth quarter. I think it was, 15 runs before that.
Yeah, and Jack Besh was the target initially, and that was a baller ball play by Max Johnson.
Wait, so that wasn't all by design?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Now, he's part of the route concept.
I thought that was all a very much planned fake, like a fake naked boot that you then turn around on.
He turned around because Britton Cox had kind of gotten free.
Yeah.
And he saw it because I asked,
wow, I was giving too much credit. I thought this was all
but that's part, like I said, it's part of the route concept, that the fact that Jure stays alive. I asked Jure, I said, how many times have you caught that ball in practice? Because ghost motion, like, you never throw it to that guy. He said, that's the first time.
See, that's why I thought it was like I thought that was like their gadget play. Like
No,
this
so-
is like the fourth and one, the fake
So
boot.
I mean, look,
around.
I thought they were running. I think everybody in the stadium thought they were running it, and Jack Besh was the initial target. He was covered up. So Max sees
Wow.
Cox is coming, spins around, and let me tell you.
So huge credit to Max Johnson.
Let me tell you how
there.
hard that throw is. Think about this: you're a left-handed quarterback rolling to your right, and you're hitting a moving target that's on the same level as you.
Yeah.
That is a very difficult throw that could have gone a lot of different ways. So shout out to both those guys for the concentration to be able to get it done. But yeah, to your point, that was the first pass. You dictated the pace of the game.
Yeah.
Like you big boyed them. Like they scored 42 points in AR-15. My God, that's a big boy. That is a big boy. It's going to play for a long time.
Yeah. What is Dan Mullen doing?
Yeah. In Emory, look, we can get to that dynamic, but that was the best feeling, and the fact that they couldn't do anything to stop it, and you let them know who the alpha was in that game. Like you let them know. I'm telling you, there's just not a better feeling when you know everybody in the stadium knew TDP was getting that ball every single time.
Yeah.
And they couldn't stop it. Like you imposed your will on them, and we haven't seen that.
No, we haven't. And so when we get back, let's talk about that, right? The question that I keep getting asked, the question that our own boss, Flynn Foster, was texting us about, like what happened? Like how, like I was at a kid's birthday party in Lafayette yesterday. People get asked me, like, how in the world did you go from being so completely ineffective and feckless when running the ball to looking like the bullies and looking dominant on Saturday? Like I said, I think there's three things, and we'll talk about them next here on Off the Bench.
You know, T, I had a Florida Gator fan, I guess it's listening to the show, wants to, for some reason, listen to Baton Rouge radio after Florida goes down to LSU, and he asked, okay, you're cherry picking the 9 of last 12, 3 out of the last 4, and 4 of the last 5. So let's go 20-year sample size.
Okay.
In the last 20 years, 20 meetings, LSU's won 13 out of the last 20. Look, I understand what the series was before that, but I think 20 years, pretty good sample size. You're not cherry picking anything there.
No, and 3 years in a row, in case you forgot. Twice as double-digit dogs when you had no business winning. Dan Mullen now 2-6 in his last 8 against the Power 5.
I mean, 7 of the last 9.
Boy.
I mean, wait, 7 of 9, 9 of 12, 13 of 20. We can go wherever.
You hate to see it. Also, yeah, you want an idea of how scary hiring coaches is? Jimbo Fisher was staring at 0-3 in the SEC in the face, and Dan Mullen's out 2-6 against Power 5 his last 8. Like, it's hard, man, because you all think of them as good coaches. Like, a lot of people would be happy with either one of them as the head man at LSU, and they're not immune to struggle either. Remember, Jimbo's was have a top 5 team. Anyway, let's talk about the LSU rushing attack, Jake, and get to the 3 things that I believe led to this change. I want to hear your thoughts on it. First, a better understanding of the players and what they do well, right? So the scheme standpoint is first. And there's been some anecdotes that I've heard about, like Jack Marucci getting involved in this front.
Yes.
And he presented the team with a bunch of data that says, look, this is what the data says y'all are good at.
TDP actually credited Jack Marucci in his post-game press conference.
Wow.
So everybody knows Jack to be the longtime trainer, but now he's really the analytics side of things, and he has broken it down to, in these formations, you have this run success, and in these formations, you have this run success. And obviously, you need a sample size to be able to do that with a new coordinator. And like, if you're analytics and that's your thing, you have to have coaches that listen to those analytics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't just like throw them on their desk, throw it in the trash can. And Cody and I talked a lot about it after the game on the Hurry Up. Like, Jack does this, and the coaches are actually looking at it and listening to it. And so, part of that goes into it as well.
So, okay, so I think first and foremost, scheme, right? Jack, Pete, better understand what they have, committing to the run from a scheme standpoint. I mean, did you see Garrett Dellinger as the jumbo tight end quite a few times, which I thought was interesting, get an extra big body in there. They had 3 first downs where they ran on 3rd or 5 and more, and they converted all 3 of them. That takes some play calling nuts to call a run in that situation, and they did. So scheme first. Second, the offensive line just continuing to gel. These are guys, it was a rotating door early on. I believe this is the 3rd week in a row now where you've had everybody.
Yep.
Right? Cam Wire came back 2 weeks ago.
And you have spring practice for a reason. You have 2-a-days for a reason. You have summer workouts for a reason. And you build chemistry through that time.
Yeah.
And LSU was building chemistry in the spring with a different offensive line coach. They were trying to build chemistry in summer, fall camp, and they never had their bodies. Guys were missing practice, and that's why it was so crucial. And we talked about it. Look, if you can practice, you got to practice, because even though you've played together, in years past, every team is different. Every year is different. And on the offensive line, like, you build that chemistry. And I honestly think that's some of the reason why the combination blocks weren't working, because you never had a good feel of how to work together. Now, you can speak to that way better than I can.
You're right. That's what I'm talking about, gelling, right? I mean, more time on task together. An offensive line ideally operates like a fist, right? And every guy is a different finger, and you want to be working in unison. And if you don't have the time on task, it's hard to. I think this continued gelling and the scheme also started to put the players in positions that they're better at, because that's the only way I can explain what Ed Ingram did this game. Because my man went off. Like, out of nowhere, just looked like Ed Ingram, the NFL prospect again.
Yeah.
From a guy that looked like the Monstars had stolen his powers to now looking like Charles Barkley, and like he was dominant. It was great to see. A bit later on, we'll break down the one touchdown run where he killed a guy. Because did you see the setup where Mashburn acts like he's going to block him and then drops inside, and then basically Ingram comes and just ear holes him?
So that has long been one of my favorite plays, in the fact that you can run it on power, you can run it on counter. When you have that lead guy, what you're doing is you're trying to affect the guy who's over you enough, right? So you're trying to make him flinch just a little bit, get his eyes on you just for a little bit, and then you're going to the next level. And by the time he realizes, oh crap, he's getting ear-holed. And now you have to have a tight end that doesn't give that away. You have to have a tight end that doesn't engage with that player. You have to step towards him, avoid him, which is not always easy, because
you're going running a route, but for blocking.
Because you're going to the next level, and you've got to have the wherewithal to be able to know that you've got to get to that guy before he shoots the gap as well. Jack Mashburn, shout out to you. St. Paul, stand up. Let's go, because that young man has made a difference in the running game.
Well, now we arrive at the third point, which is Jack mother-flipping Mashburn, dude.
Oh, God.
Oh, my. I was scared to say
Mario's dead.
I was a little scared to say Okay, so what we're talking about here, if you're watching online, replay that, Danny. Look at Mashburn. Set up the defensive end here like he's going to block him. Then, like a route release, he cuts inside of him. He still gets his man on the second level. I mean, that is perfect. And then watch what Ed Ingram does to him, because he set up, boom, kill shot.
Hell of a block by Cam Wire there as well. But for Jack to do that, because a lot of young tight ends who haven't played a lot of football, okay, so ideally you'd like to go on the outside of him probably if you can when he's playing this kind of technique, but the fact that he puts his foot in the ground doesn't panic.
Great. I mean, he set him up like a route.
Set him up,
It's like watching Justin Jefferson run a route, and how he just because he got his moving kind of the outside, so that's why he ends up cutting up in, and then Ingram and Wire were perfect with pull. But that's the third reason, Jack Mashburn, man. It's not just that he's an upgrade, Jake. He is a damn good blocker.
Yeah.
Like it's not just that, he's good relative to what you had. He's good relative to anyone.
Yeah.
Like in pass pro, in run blocking, the guy just looks like a badass. Yep. And he's a necro, so pretty badass. Yeah.
Be still my heart.
Put that man on scholarship yesterday. Yes. Put him on scholarship immediately. He is the main correlating factor in terms of changes that were made from a personnel standpoint. He is the main correlating factor to the success that LSU has had running the ball. Yep. And if you watch the film, it's easy to see why. He's dominating his guy every play almost.
It is very easy to see why. And you are running gap schemes, which have so many moving parts, and you're wondering, why didn't they do this early? Well, they had to figure out exactly what they could do. And, look, let's call it like it is. Like, Cole Taylor's a scholarship guy, and you have Jack Best, and you have this weapon, so you're trying to figure out the tight end position, and Mashburn's come in, and he has taken over that position. Now, Jack Best is certainly still going to play because of what he can do catching the football, but it's and then everything, like all parts of this have to work. Jack has to get his blocks. The pullers have to be good, which they've been fantastic in their decision making. And then TDP, the patience. On a counter run, you have to be patient, because like old school counter, like you're 7.5 yards deep, you're taking the 1-2 step over, and then you're coming back. In a gun run, like it's a little bit different. So after you get the football, you have to be patient, set everything up, and then hit the hole once it's there.
Yeah, I think also while we're talking offensive line, today or Saturday was a good take a deep breath. The future has a little bit more juice than maybe we've been paying it as. And I am as guilty of this as anyone. But Anthony Bradford started to look pretty damn solid at left tackle. Not that I think that his future lies at tackle, but he's played well. And, bro, Marlon Martinez.
He played well.
He might end up being your starting right guard by the end of this season. I know correlation isn't always causation, but he was the right guard on the majority of the good drives that LSU had. And, we've been begging and praying to see these young guys show up. So, look, Bradford played well. Marlon Martinez played well. Although it was in spot duty, the true freshman Dellinger looked nice. So, okay, there's 3 bodies there.
Yeah.
We can work with this. There's a little more hope there. You know about the recruiting class coming in. We talk all about the transfer portal and how you can get better immediately.
Spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's development. And credit to Brad Davis as well. And this whole line. That's probably another, actually, I said the 3 core points. That's probably like a 3B. Is simply that Coach Davis has just had more time on task for these cats because they basically went through a midseason coaching change and an extreme stylistic change. Yeah. And that takes a while to work out, okay, who's going to rise, who's going to fall, who works best.
There was a great moment in the locker room after the game. Jake Peets is kind of coming out, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, and he sees Brad Davis in the hallway, and he just kind of gives him one of those hits on the chest and gives him a hug. He's like, that's the hard work that y'all have been putting in. And that's all he said to him. Like, that's the grind. That's the hard work that y'all have been putting in. And it was a great moment to kind of see that because obviously that's been the position that we have just honed in on because, look, let's call it like it is. They played poor early in the year. Now they're putting in a different position and they're thriving. It's kind of good to see them rise up from the ashes because, man, they were as low as any position group maybe in the country.
Yeah, they're much maligned. But, again, we critique when criticism's due and we give credit when credit is due. And all the credit in the world to LSU, that's the thing. It wasn't fluky. They played objectively well. Like, they got push throughout the night. Ed Ingram was coming out of his hips like I have not seen him do all season long. He was blowing guys up. And so it is a fascinating commentary on putting guys in the right positions, everything you always talk about in coaching that's hard to achieve, maximizing strengths, minimizing weaknesses. You saw pay huge dividends on Saturday, and now you've got a new all-time leading rusher in a year where you were like 125th. It doesn't make any sense. It's wild. I've never seen anything like it. And it results in a 49-42 Florida loss. Sorry, Dorian. I saw the video of you